Welcome back to another episode talking about electric bikes. If you're new here, my name's Forrest. I'm a full-time bike shop manager and mechanic, and in this video, we're going to be answering your most frequently asked questions about buying an e-bike. The topic of electric bikes has to be one of the most controversial things that I've talked about on my YouTube channel so far. The sheer volume of people who have reached out with questions about this topic has been very validating, and I really do appreciate it a lot. I've been making videos on YouTube for over 10 years now, and this has to be one of the most controversial topics I've ever been a part of. I just want everyone to know how much I truly do appreciate the support. The community's growing. The support for the channel definitely does not go unnoticed. I see every comment, read every comment, try to respond to anyone who has a question about bikes or really anything we post about in general. So without further ado, let's get into some questions. I think the number one question I've been getting on a lot of these videos is why buy an electric bike? Well, there's a few different reasons. A lot of folks aren't able to get out like they used to necessarily and ride a normal bike as far as they would like to. And I think electric bikes provide a really good opportunity for people to get out there and continue their journey with cycling, whether that be on a normal bike or an electric bike. However, I think the electric bikes do provide a lot better of a platform for some people to get on, certain frame designs, certain motor outputs, and everything like that, which we're going to get into here in a minute. The next big question I saw floating around in my comment section was, how hard is it really to change an inner tube on an electric bike? That seems to be a huge question and a concern for some folks, and I just sort of want to clear the air. It can be pretty hard to change a flat on a rear hub motor e-bike. Typically, you need an 18 or a 19 millimeter wrench. You're definitely going to need some tire levers and wire cutters. And what I mean by wire cutters is there's typically a few zip ties on the rear wheel. These wheels are heavy. They're a slotted axle, so they only come in one way and only come out one way. Surely, if you have a little bit of mechanical knowledge, you're probably going to be able to change this pretty quick. It's a little bit difficult on the side of the road, but definitely nothing to shy away from as long as you have an extra inner tube. And I just want to clarify, I'm talking about carrying some wire cutters. They don't have to be huge, they can be really small. It's just to cut the zip ties that hold the motor wires on to the rear axle. So the next question I get all the time is probably, what do I prefer? Do I prefer a mid-drive motor e-bike or do I prefer a hub-driven e-bike? I think in my personal opinion, if I'm riding a mountain bike, I probably am going to go with a mid-drive just because of that center of gravity. That motor in the middle of the frame keeps your center of gravity and your weight down when you're going through rocks and whatnot. If I was commuting to work or taking kids to school on the back of a big cargo bike, I probably would go with a hub-driven bike in that case. It seems like you get a little bit more watts out of some of those. Some people even have dual hub-driven bikes, so front and rear motors. People getting a lot of watts out of those, which is great. And I really have nothing against both. I have no intention to steer anyone one way or the other. I think they're both great. I do think for service reasons, the mid-drive motor might be a little bit easier, particularly with flat tires. But again, I'll let you make your own assumptions on that one. I definitely think if you're riding mountain, go with a mid-drive. If you're going to be commuting to work and stuff like that, probably just go with a hub-driven bike. It keeps the cost down. They're still really great, tons of power. They're both great. I've seen a few people in my comment section asking if high price really means high quality. Yes. Are batteries for these electric bikes expensive? Yes, absolutely they are expensive. That was the one thing I would watch out for, especially if you buy an electric bike used, particularly with the used market. Make sure the bike has not been sitting for a very long time. A lithium-ion battery stored at 0% or even at a low percentage can lose some top-end chargeability. What I mean by that is sometimes if they sit for a long time and you go to charge them again, they will not then charge to 100%, or sometimes they can die. Sometimes what I've seen through the shop is batteries can completely die, and at that point you want to make sure that you can reach out to a customer service base or somewhere to get an extra battery. Sometimes these batteries can range anywhere from $500 to $1,500. It just depends on the quality of the battery and the company that's involved. And it could be for sure a real bummer if a battery sits at 0 and does not get charged. Lithium-ion batteries do not like that, so that's the one thing that I would watch out for. So yeah, that is kind of my hot take on e-bike batteries. Do not leave them stored, in my opinion, like under 20%. If you're going to store it for a real long time, probably leave it in that 70 to 100% range, and you shouldn't have any problems. And if you're buying one used, make sure that's what it was stored at, or at least do a diagnostic on it. If it's high enough end battery that it has an app you can connect to it or something like that, go ahead and do that. Make sure everything is in really good health. The next big question that I've seen in my comment section is the disadvantages and the advantages of hydraulic brakes versus cable brakes. I answered this a little bit in my last video, but I figured I would touch on it again for you guys. The advantages, in my opinion, again, just in my opinion, a hydraulic brake is going to be a lot stronger for an e-bike. I think a lot of these bikes are pushing 30 miles an hour, some of them even more than that. If you're more than that, definitely get a hydraulic brake. I think cable brakes are good too in some aspects, as long as they're big and burly enough. Certain cable brakes can be super easy to adjust, which is good. So if something goes out on the road, you just tighten the cable a little bit more. As long as you have brake pads, you should be ready to go, as long as there's no other kinks in the brake line or anything like that. With a hydraulic brake, the downside of those is if the brake goes out, sometimes it might need a brake bleed. You might have to take it to a shop, maybe wait a couple days. If that's your work commuter, again, that could be a problem if you don't have a car on the side. So definitely something to think about if you have hydraulic brakes and you're commuting. Again, for reliability purposes though, cable actuated brakes, great for getting around, simple stuff to work and back, that sort of thing where you don't need optimal braking power. I think if you're riding any kind of off-road where you need really good stopping power though, probably go with a hydraulic brake. I think you'll be a lot more better off and a lot happier with a hydraulic brake, in my opinion. So what is considered a good e-bike warranty? I think a lot of companies right now are doing a 2-year warranty program. Some companies even do a lifetime on the frame. If it's anything less than 2 years, in my opinion, on the motor and battery, steer clear. You want to make sure this is a solid company. Preferably, if you're in the United States, has a US customer service base, at least somebody you can get in contact with to send you parts and whatnot, if your local bike shop can't do it for you. And that actually brings me to my next topic. Some people in the comments were saying, hey, I took my electric bike to my local bike shop and they turned me away. They're not able to work on it. They're not able to touch the electronic components. And I have to tell you, this is 100% true, and I can tell you why. Most of the time, insurance companies do not let you touch electric bikes that you do not sell. Therefore, if you were to buy a bike on eBay or Amazon and bring it to us, the most we could do is give you some suggestions of where to take it. And there is some shops that will do full service work on electric bikes, but they are very rare, at least here in California, few and far between. We can totally touch mechanical stuff, so brakes and shifting and wheel trues and whatnot. More than happy to take care of that for you. However, the electronic components, if they did not come from the shop they were sold at in particular, most likely in that case, you'll have to go straight back to the manufacturer and have them work that out with you. What is my opinion on Tannis Armor tire inserts, and can I use tire sealant with tire inserts as well? My short answer is absolutely. I would use as much as you can to beef those tires up, especially on a fat tire bike. If you get a flat and you're way out there in the field, those are pretty hard to change unless you're really mechanically inclined and you bring all the tools with you. Then by all means, go ahead and do that, no problem. But if you're out there and you're commuting to somewhere and you got to be somewhere quick, definitely want to get a tire insert, at least in the rear wheel if that's where your motor is. Put some tire sealant in there as well, just in case a thorn gets through. Again, with the sealant though, however, if you get like 100 thorns and that sort of thing, it might not quite seal it up. So that's why we always like to have that insert on top of the inner tube as well. And yes, I would absolutely run them with sealant on the inside just for some extra bulletproof support. So what's a good price for an e-bike that has a mid-drive motor? I saw someone ask this in my comments as well. So in my opinion, I think a good price for a mid-drive motor e-bike, I mean anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 pretty much. I mean, if you're gonna buy one through a dealer, expect a mid-drive bike to be at least $2,500. I know there is some companies that it might be a little less, but you're probably gonna have to find them online. Not saying there's anything wrong with buying a bike online. Again, just make sure it's got a customer service base you can work with. Most bikes that are over that $2,000 price point anyways are probably gonna be pretty solid bikes. I would stay away from anything under that $1,500 price point if it's a mid-drive motor. I just don't think there is any way there could be a good amount of quality there. I'm sure someone's getting away with it, but I know it's not me. $2,000, maybe $2,500 just to be safe. I think putting the right amount of money where it belongs on this one could really benefit in the long run, and you're going to have a much better experience going with a little bit higher end bike in the beginning. It's not going to leave you stranded. So the next question is, what seems to be the controversy behind fat tire e-bikes? I had a couple people in the comments saying that they put their fat tire bike together and it was just really hard to control. They wouldn't recommend it for some people who might have, impeding health issues where maybe their wrists are hurting real bad and stuff like that, because the big fat tires do tend to be a little bit wishy-washy. They're really good for riding off-road, I will say. A fat tire bike's very smooth off-road, especially in, the roughest conditions. They'd be really good in snow and loose dirt, kind of like what I'm walking on right here. However, if you are riding on road, and I find particularly if you use the front brake a lot, sometimes the bike can feel like it's dragging one way or the other. So on a fat tire bike particularly, you want to make sure that your brakes are aligned exactly right. Otherwise, it could feel like the bike is pulling one way or the other just because they are so heavy. And with that extra assistance, a lot of the fat tire bikes can be 750 to 1500 watts, which is great. But that is quite a bit of power. So when there's a minute thing wrong, especially with the brakes, or maybe the stem's not straight enough, it could feel like the bike wants to pull one way or the other. And this could be a pretty big safety issue for someone that's not expecting it. So just wanted to put that out there. Hopefully that clears the air a little bit. Oh, and one thing I was going to talk about that I didn't get to in the first video I made about electric bikes, tubeless tires. I think tubeless tires are a great option. Typically, they're not going to be offered with big fat tire e-bikes though. However, I have seen some wheels that are capable of that. They're just very rare, especially from the factory. Typically, your tubeless tires are going to be found on your mountain bikes, and this can be a really good option to prevent from flats and thorns. The idea of being tubeless, essentially you just run a valve stem. It's got no inner tube on the inside, and you run a special tire that's tubeless compatible and tire sealant inside of that tire as well. And basically, if you were to get a thorn or any type of puncture up in the top of the tread, that sealant should seal the hole. And if it doesn't, you can carry bacon strips, just like they do on a car tire. You can plug the hole, and that should still get you home. Going tubeless is a little bit more of a process, however, it is a little bit more costly. It does make things a little bit more reliable if you're mountain biking. I think we touched a little bit on certain tools you're gonna wanna bring with you when you're riding your electric bike, whether that's commuting or on the trail if you're mountain biking. Typically, commuter bikes, your front axle might either be quick release or a 5 to 6 millimeter Allen wrench. So probably a good idea to throw one of those in the bag with you. I would bring some tire levers and some extra tools just in case, maybe a multi-tool. I would also bring a spare inner tube if you can, either a pump or if you really want to speed things up, probably a CO2 cartridge or two, and it's a great idea to learn how to use those before you head out on any bike ride in general. If you're repairing a rear hub motor e-bike, so a lot of our commuter e-bikes out there, I would bring either an adjustable wrench to be sure you have the right size, or an 18 or 19 millimeter. If you know the size, it's probably going to be one of those for the rear axle. I would bring a small adjustable wrench as well, because a lot of the rear axles are slotted, and it can really help when you're pulling the axle out to put your adjustable wrench over the axle. You can wiggle it back and forth on the two flat surfaces, and you'll see what I mean when you get there. Bringing a small adjustable wrench could help that wheel drop right out, because sometimes the wheel axle gets a little stuck on the back of the bike. If you wiggle it back and forth, it'll pop right out. The same thing for putting it back in. It's got some directional washers you need to wiggle back and forth, and it helps to have that wrench. So that's the one thing I would say to bring with you on a commuter e-bike. If it's a mid-drive bike like the one that I'm riding, it might be a little bit easier. You just mess with the rear derailleur a little bit. Sometimes they're either going to be a quick release or, again, a 5 and 6 millimeter Allen wrench to take the front and rear wheels out. It's probably going to be a through axle of some sort, and those kind of follow general biking rules. Usually it'd be the same as changing a normal bike tire. So let's go ahead and recap a couple things we went over in this video. I'll say it before and I will say it again. Having a good warranty, or at least a good customer service base, whatever country you are watching this from, is probably a good idea. A lot of us that are in the US, we'd like to see a US customer service base. It's much easier to work with those companies, much easier to get parts for. Even if the parts are made overseas, it's always a good thing to have somebody in the US talk straight to, or even another country, depending where you're from, and just be expecting that you might have to get the parts shipped to you to do the work yourself. if your local bike shop's insurance will not cover it. Again, I have had folks reach out from shops in different areas all over the country, and certain shops will work on electric bikes they don't sell, particularly the electronic components. I mean, I'm sure a lot of shops are going to be able to touch shifting and brakes and basic stuff like that, but a lot of them aren't going to be able to touch the motors and batteries just because of their insurance. So that's just to be expected. Going tubeless can make things a little bit more costly if you're mountain biking because you need special wheels and special tire to make it happen. Once you get to that point, typically you're pretty serious and in-depth cyclist anyways, so it does make sense at that point, but I totally get it. I totally get it because you can buy like 50 inner tubes for the price of going tubeless on one bike. It has saved me tons and tons of flats, so it is a good way to go for sure. But again, totally understandable if you don't go tubeless. Talk to your local bike shop about it. Maybe they can help you out with some pricing. Typically, if it doesn't come factory tubeless, you might need some special wheels, or maybe they'll just have to tape the wheels for you and get you going that way. I just wanted to get a little personal with you guys for a second and talk about the growth of this channel. Over the last month or two, I've seen a really good growth. We're really building a community here. I see every like, every comment, every person that subscribes to me. I want to thank you guys so much. We're really building up a community. I don't usually upload all e-bike content. We do a lot of adventure videos as well, and that is something I will be posting more soon. We got a lot of cool adventures coming up. So we got some bad weather rolling in. I'm going to have to get up on out of here. I'm going to leave a link to a playlist in the description of this video that's got a lot more cool videos just like this one. Again, if you guys could, go ahead and subscribe below, join the community, like this video, and we'll see you next time.